Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico.
Morning.
But most importantly, you guys are here. Thank you so much for being here, making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a few predetermined topics. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. If you have a thought, comment, or question that you'd like us to address on the show, go ahead and use our tip link at www.streamelements.com/JohnCampea/tip. Send it on in as long as we deem it appropriate to be addressed on our show. We'll go ahead and answer it. And by the way, this tip link is good 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you're watching this show later on in the evening, or if you're listening to our podcast, by the way, we have a podcast feed. Thank you to all you guys who listen to us on the podcast. You can also send in a question using this tip link, and we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into it, shall we? We're going to start off with this. It's Shogun's year, baby. All Shogun. All the time. One of my most anticipated shows of all time came out. It exceeded all expectations. And we talked about this last week, but the Emmys are split into two different weekends. The record for most Emmy wins in a year was 13 by White Lotus. Before that, it was 12 by Game of Thrones. Before that, it was 11. And before that, the record was 10. So 13 was the record. Shogun beat the record by winning 14 Emmys in the first weekend. And they still had a bunch of categories to go last night. Of course, last night was the primetime Emmys where they give out the big major awards of the year. And Shogun was up for several more. And indeed, it did win several more. Won 4 more Oscars. It won 4 more Emmys to bring its total to 18 Emmys. Remember, the record was 10, then it got to 11. Record was 11, then it got to 12 with Game of Thrones. That did it twice. Then White Lotus won 13. Every time the record had been broken, it had been broken by 1. The record was 13, it's now 18. That's how dominant this thing was. Let's go over and take a look at some of the awards that it won last night. And there was a big surprise at the primetime Emmys too, but we'll get to that surprise in a second. First of all, of course, Best Drama Series. The nominees were The Crown, Fallout, Gilded Age, Morning Show, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is the one nominee I didn't think deserved to be in there. Shogun, of course, Slow Horses, and Three Body Problem. So glad Three Body Problem and Fallout got nominated. But Shogun, in the most obvious no-brainer of the evening, Shogun won the top prize, Best Show in Television, taking top drama. It also won in the Best Actress Drama. The nominees were Jennifer Aniston, Carrie Coon, Maya Erskine, Imelda Staunton, Reese Witherspoon, but Anna Sawai. Probably male or female, the single most attractive person in the business right now. And she was so good in Monarch. A show that doesn't exactly set you up to have a standout performance. You know, Monarch, that's not a show you go in there looking for acting Emmys for, but I thought she was a great standout. And then she comes into Shogun, absolutely stole it, and she wins, by the way, becoming the first Asian woman ever to win Best Lead Actress in a drama series. So congratulations to Anna Sawai. I cannot wait to see what she does next. Well deserved, and she takes it home. But they weren't done. Also, Best Lead Actor in a drama series. The nominees were Idris Elba, Donald Glover, Walton Goggins, Gary Oldman, Dominic West. What a lineup. But the winner, Lord Toranaga himself, Hiroyuki Sanada, took home again, which is kind of a no-brainer, for Best Actor in Drama Series. First Japanese-born actor ever to win Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Absolutely well-deserved. Going into it, I'm like, who are you going to find to play Toranaga? Because you got to have somebody who has like a power on screen that is like no other. And then as soon as they said they got Sanada to play it, I'm like, there you go. There it is. He's going to kill it. And absolutely he killed it. Won the Emmy for Best Lead Actor. And these two together, I mean, come on. My only big regret My only massive regret about Shogun and the fact that we're going to get a Shogun season 2, which I'm extremely excited for, is that we're not going to get to see these two together again. For those of you who've seen the show, you know why. But that's the only thing that breaks my heart, is that we're not going to be able to see these two together again on screen. And that's really too bad. Anyway, there were other awards being given out that night. Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series went to Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown.
So something else won.
Something else won. Shogun didn't actually have a nominee in this category.
No.
In Best Supporting Actor for a Drama, Shogun had 2 nominees, but Billy Crudup won for The Morning Show. Well-deserved. He's great in that show. No complaints there. But this is where the big surprise was. The Bear, which has no business being in the Best Comedy category. It's 100% a drama. Does it have some laughs? Sure. So did Shogun. The Bear is not a comedy. But for the last couple of years, it's been nominated in the comedy category. But even though it won for Best Lead Actor for Jeremy Allen White, Best Supporting Actor for Eben Moss-Backrack, who of course is going to play Ben Grimm the Thing in Fantastic Four. It won Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy. Hacks won for Best Comedy.
Go figure.
In the Best Surprise of the Year. Now, of course, it won for Best Lead Actress as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it came out of nowhere and like it wasn't winning anything else. But a lot of people, including me, thought Best Comedy category was a foregone conclusion. They were going to give it to The Bear, even though, again, The Bear should not be in this category. But everybody loves Hacks, and Hacks wound up taking the big surprise tonight. In the Best Limited Series category or anthology, whatever, the Best Limited Series category, no surprise, Baby Reindeer swept up. They took home a whole bunch of things, which was good for them, and a few little surprises here and there. But overall, it was absolutely Shogun's year, and I could not be happier for them. I think it's great that they won all those awards and shattered the record by so much. So that was great to see. All right, guys. What do you think about Shogun's absolute utter dominance at the Emmys this year? I mean, again, it broke the record by 5. By 5. I cannot wait for the sequel, the second season to come out. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below. I almost said the comedy section.
Yeah.
Jump down into the comment section, which is sometimes the comedy section, and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Transformers Rise of the Beasts wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I had some fun with it. I enjoyed it. But it was unfortunately kind of a return to the Michael Bay style of doing Transformers movies when everybody on the planet knows what they should have done was a Bumblebee 2, which of course director Travis Knight, director of Kubo and the Two Strings, did such a great job directing and made a truly wonderful film, not just a wonderful Transformers movie. But at the end of Transformers Rise of the Beasts, they gave a little post-credit teaser where we found out that monitoring the Transformers and the humans aiding them was none other than a stealth organization known as G.I. Joe. And he pulls out his card, says G.I. Joe, and everybody in the audience got excited. And lo and behold, shortly thereafter, Paramount announced a Transformers G.I. Joe movie. They announced it.
Yep.
Came out and said, hey guys, this is happening.
Woo!
Yeah. Little problem though. They've got nothing.
They have concepts of nothing.
Ideas, concepts of a plan.
Yeah.
I don't have a plan. I got concepts of a plan. Anyway. So when they talked to the producer, De Bonaventura, about it, and you're like, hey, when are we going to get a release date? It's been over a year. It's been over a year since you told the world you're going to get a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover. Oh, what's the release date? This is what they said. This comes from CBR Right says, recognizing that when it comes to crossovers, quote unquote, people think different things about what that means. De Bonaventura described this story as one where the Joes are going to be in the Transformers world and be present. I think every movie is sort of a balancing act of how much you have this. And in this movie, how funny can we be? How serious? How do you cross that line? How do you hide the villain? All those sort of balancing acts that you're doing. However, he conceded that the film release date still isn't set, adding, "We're still in the early process in a way of trying to figure out the balance." Let me get this straight. You told the world 1 year and 3 months ago that you were doing a Transformers G.I. Joe movie. You doubled down on that by putting out a big public statement saying, "The Joes and the Transformers coming to the big screen together," when you had no goddamn idea what kind of movie you even had. Whatever happened to the idea of, hey, we've got this great idea for movie. Awesome. Let's set it up. Let's put in a post-credit scene. No, it's just, hey, you know what we should do? What's that, Eddie? I'm making up a fictional character, Eddie. What's that, Eddie? We should do Transformers and G.I. Joe movie together. That's a great idea, Eddie. Hey, how far along are we in that Transformers Rise of the Beast movie? Pretty far along. Tell you what, let's slap in a post-credit scene and we'll announce to the world. And then Eddie looks concerned. Well, wait, I mean, shouldn't we know what we're doing with that movie? You know, before we announce it to the world? Nah. How hard can that be? Let's just tell everybody. And now we're hearing a year later, we're trying to figure it out. We've got, we don't know. You know, how funny do we want to be? Is it the Joes in the Transformers world? Is it the Transformers in the Joes world? You know, we're kind of figuring it out. We're figuring it out. Why the hell didn't you figure it out before you told the world? You know what this reminds me of, Ray?
What?
Blade. And I think this is the first time, like with Marvel and Blade, that was the first time that they really stuck their foot in their mouth. I mean, they've had to cancel projects before, but that was for different and often legitimate reasons. And not often have they canceled projects. But like with Blade, they made the same mistake. Hey, what do you think about doing a Blade movie with Mahershala Ali? Great idea. Book him to fly in and join us at Comic-Con and we'll bring him out on stage and announce it. But Kevin, yes, Eddie? Eddie used to work for Kevin Feige. Yes, Eddie? Don't you think maybe we should have our idea for the movie first and maybe a script before we announce to the world? Eddie, you're fired. Go work for Paramount. And then Eddie went over to Paramount and had the problems with the G.I. Joe movie. But they had the same problems, right?
Eddie's having a bad day.
Eddie's having a bad year.
Well,
poor Eddie.
I mean, the Madam Web writers are available.
Yeah, they've got some free time on their hands.
Look, my problem with this thing was that I never found that G.I. Joe was set yet. You know what I mean? Like the other movies, like I've forgotten about him. I think they need a better movie to come out first before.
Nah.
Like, no? Okay.
Eddie says nah.
No, Eddie says nah? Okay.
I mean, look. What Eddie would remind us all is that you didn't introduce Black Panther in a Black Panther movie. You introduced Black Panther in Civil War.
Oh.
So you introduced G.I. Joe because God knows you can't have it in the same continuity as The Rock's movie or as that horrible, horrible Snake Eyes movie. So you want to introduce new G.I. Joes, introduce them with a Transformers car. That's fine. That works.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
The execs are watching this. They literally just crossed off those two movies as you said.
Yeah, it's like, well, there goes that idea. Sorry, Eddie. So, again, what is it with coming out and announcing a movie to the world that you have no fucking idea what you're doing with it?
Man, it's
you
like
haven't got the first idea, but let's just tell the world we're doing it.
it's like announcing a wedding date. You don't even have a girlfriend yet. Save the date. I have a good feeling about this one.
Good feeling.
Is that Michael Scott?
June 19th, 2027. Mark it down.
Yep.
You know
We're
what? I
having
think
a wedding in Cabo.
You know what? Was it?
Or I am.
Was it a case of them just trying to feel out the waters to see the reaction of the end credit scene or whatever? do people do that? Do studios do that?
No, they could have done that, but then they announced that they
Then they
were working
announced
on
that
it.
they're doing it.
Yeah,
Oh, right.
it could have just been a fun Easter egg.
And this is supposed to be with Chris Hemsworth too, right?
Well, he is in early talks.
From what we were.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to
Yeah.
happen. I think there's more likely chances that Chris Hemsworth does that Hulk Hogan movie that he was talking about.
But you know
doing
what?
This.
He did voice what we're going to talk about later, Transformers 1, Orion Pack. So
Yeah,
I mean,
but
he is under
in
that-
this Transformers world, that's a different. This is a different Optimus Prime.
Oh, no. I meant he's going to play a Joe. Wasn't he supposed to play a Joe?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
I think he's in Minecraft too now. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
happening.
this movie is going to very quietly disappear. I really do. Like, really, we're a year later and you still we're trying to figure it out. Anyway,
It should
guys,
be, sorry. I'm just saying it should be animated. What do you think about
Well, that would be fun.
animation? Like,
Maybe.
no one's going to go see that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, I mean, you could do an animated movie and drop it on streaming.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But I mean, if you want to make a legitimate
Right.
feature film that people are going to excite about going to the movies for, you got to do it live action. So,
right.
I don't know, guys. Question is for you: what do you think about this? The producers of this Transformers G.I. Joe movie are saying, yeah, it's a year later, but we're kind of trying to figure out what we want to do. Really? You already told us you were doing it. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Listen, we still got a couple other things we got to talk about. We got to talk about Beetlejuice having a great second weekend at the box office. We're going to talk about that. And also, we saw Transformers 1 this weekend, and I am telling you, it is the best Transformers movie ever made. We're going to go over the reasons why. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second to thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at The Perfect Gene and PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, The Perfect Gene. Okay, so I've got to tell you about The Perfect Gene. These jeans are seriously a game changer. You know that feeling you get when you find a pair of jeans that fit so well that you almost forget that you're wearing them? That's what happened when I tried these. I'm not kidding. They're as comfortable as your favorite sweatpants, and they can slide on like them too, but they still look amazing. Look, as guys, we've all suffered through stiff, uncomfortable jeans, but The Perfect Gene is all about recusing, well, your gentlemanly area. These jeans are soft, stretchy, and they fit like they were custom made just for you. Because they've got an insane range of sizes, whether you're a skinny jeans kind of guy or rocking the bigger look. And they didn't just stop with jeans, they've got the perfect tee as well, with just the right amount of stretch to hide that beer belly, but still make you look great. It's finally time to stop crushing your balls in uncomfortable jeans by going to theperfectgene.nyc. Our listeners get 15% off your first order, plus free shipping, free returns, and free exchanges when you use the code Campea15 at checkout. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with the promo code Campea15. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show by telling them that we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect gene. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in most states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. You see, PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. And I was pleasantly surprised by just how quick and easy it was to get set up and registered and ready to go. Here's a couple of examples of picking your more or less. Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards, Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards, and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. So guys, download the PrizePicks app today and use the code Campea and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code Campea on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game. And thank you to our friends at The Perfect Gene and PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, Beetlejuice had a terrific opening weekend. It ended up making, what did it make in the neighborhood of? It was like $111 million opening weekend, which is more than impressive. I mean, I think it was the third biggest opening of the year so far. And I think the second biggest opening in any September in history, which is great. Only behind It Chapter 1. That's the only other September release movie that made more money than Beetlejuice did. Now, again, the kind of disclaimer, I did not like Beetlejuice. I thought it was terrible. It's probably going to be in my top 10 worst films of the year list, but there's a lot of people who had a really good time with it, and a lot of people rushed out to go see it, and it's done incredibly well, insanely well. And it has now followed that up by having a really good second weekend as well. As we jump over to IMDb, we see that Beetlejuice took in $51.6 million, which represents just a 53% drop. Now, I'll tell you why that's so impressive. Because some of you would say, John, but you're always saying that between 50 and 60 is what a second weekend drop-off should be. Why are you saying a 53% drop-off is so impressive? Because the one exception that you often get when you get these movies that have, massive opening weekends, like this one did, is that you'll tend to have a little bit of a larger second weekend drop-off just because so many people have already seen it. Like people, they do a double take and they say, you must be crazy when I say that, Spider-Man No Way Home, that had one of the biggest opening weekends of all time, had a nearly take second weekend drop-off. People love the movie. It's just that everybody rushed out to go see it right away. And so had a much softer second weekend, even though it still made a ton of money at second weekend. For Beetlejuice to be the third biggest opening of the year, second biggest September opening of all time, making over $110 million on its opening weekend, for it to have a 53% drop, I think that is a little bit more impressive than the average film having a 53% drop off on its second weekend. Now, yes, it was helped by the fact that there were no big, real strong other movies opening this week. Like you had Speak No Evil. Obviously, Deadpool and Wolverine is still out there, but it's now like its eighth or ninth week, something like that. You had Killer's Game opening, but nobody, I'm not even sure Dave Bautista's parents went to go see this movie.
No.
It made like $2 million opening weekend. But so it had a soft second weekend, but still $51 million on its second weekend is pretty damn impressive, which means for it to make that much money on second weekend, it means that, yeah, there were people who waited to go see it till now, but it also means there are people going back to see it a second time.
Repeat.
And there are new people going to go see it as a result of word of mouth. Not my word of mouth, but other people's word of mouth on it. The people who did have a really good time with it. And again, there were a bunch of them. And so I think this bodes very well for hell, even Speak No Evil, which I thought could make between 7 and 8 million. It ended up making 11.5.
Yeah.
For like this little film that's clearly not a broad appeal kind of movie.
I think I read it only cost them 11 million
it was a
to
very
make.
small budget. It was, I can't remember the exact number, but it was a very, very small
I was
budget.
like, wow, so McAvoy did them a favor on that one.
That movie's going to end up being profitable. So good on them. And right now, Beetlejuice has a domestic or a worldwide grand total of $264 million. Why is that number important? Because the movie cost $100 million to make. You can fact check me on that, but I believe it was like somewhere between $100 and $105 million.
Yeah, it pretty much is.
They spent about $60 million on marketing it, which means this movie needed to make about $240 million to break even. At $264 million, that means after just its second weekend, the movie's profitable. Yeah. It's now every new ticket that they sell is just profit. Pure, delicious, gooey, creamy, cheesy profit, baby.
I mean, we're talking mozzarella and sour cream, baby.
Kind of things that rub on my nipples and sing old songs.
Look, from what Variety is reporting, that they pitched this movie to stream on Max, but Tim Burton lowered the budget to under 100 million just to get it in theaters.
Yep.
Which is great.
So the original idea was for it to go straight to streaming. The original budget was going to be about 130 to 140 or 150 million dollars. And Tim Burton was like, I want to take this. This should be in the theaters. And he was right. So they made a deal with him. I was like, all right, tell you what, lower the budget because we're going to need money to spend on marketing. If we're going to put this thing in theaters, we got to have money to put into marketing. So lower the budget. It was also going to be a longer movie. It was the original pitch for it was going to be about a half hour longer. Look, I didn't like the movie, but I think even most people who did like the movie will acknowledge it should not have been any longer. Like that was as long as that movie should be.
Do you think this situation or this scenario is going to happen more often as streaming becomes more of like a comfortable place where studios can put their movies? Do you think the directors will compromise like Tim Burton did in the future movies, maybe like that maybe the studios don't believe in or maybe want to just put straight to streaming?
I think so. I think if you listen, remember the same sort of thing happened with freaking Roadhouse.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Because the studio, Amazon said to the director, tell you what, you have a choice. Keep the budget where it is and keep the money that we're paying you all, and we'll put it on streaming, or let's reduce the budget and we'll put it in theaters because we'll have money to put a marketing campaign. And they chose to put it on streaming. Mistake. Because I think Roadhouse would have made some money because it was a pretty low budget film.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we're seeing this more and more, right? Like obviously the big example of this was Tom Cruise. Now, granted, they weren't going to put Top Gun on streaming, but they started thinking about putting it on streaming. They're like, oh, the pandemic, let's just dump this thing on streaming. And Tom Cruise was like, F no. He drew a line in the sand. He said, there's no way we're putting this thing, and they got rewarded. Alien Romulus was supposed to go straight to streaming.
Like
and they
Prey.
were like, huh.
Like Prey did.
Just like Prey did. But they're like, I think we all regret that we didn't put Prey in theaters. Maybe we should put this thing in theaters. They put it in the theaters. What happened? They made money. And now with Beetlejuice, it's like, look what happened. You reduce the budget. By the way, $100 million budget is exactly where a movie like this should be anyway. They shortened the runtime a bit to make it more palatable in theaters. They took a bunch of that money and put it towards the marketing. And already after its second weekend, this movie is profitable.
Yeah, making that extra sharp cheddar.
It would have been cheaper if they didn't use that last song, that worst.
They had to pay the rights on it. I don't think that one cost
the
much.
worst part of the movie.
I liked the movie, but then there was a period where it stopped, and I'm like, okay, cool. And then it kept going the same amount of time. It was like it doubled the length. I'm like, no.
Yeah, so listen, a lot of lessons to be learned here. Now, how big will this movie get? Don't know. I don't think it gets to $500 million, but I'll tell you what, at $264 million after it's just a second weekend, now it's got Transformers 1 coming out, it's got a few, but it's not ridiculous to think this thing could get to $500 million.
It needs a little more international love, don't you think? Like for it to
Well,
reach
yeah, look,
five?
Beetlejuice is not a movie that's going to play as well in international
That's
markets.
where I think it's going to get stuck.
And I
Like-
think it as it goes, if it has legs, it's going to get that Halloween bump, a little Halloween bump
If
at
it's
that
still in
point.
theaters.
But
yeah,
that's
I mean,
about
it'll
it.
still be in theaters,
You
but
think so? October 31st.
It's only 2 weeks. Well, not.
It's only
I'm
like
not
6
saying,
weeks away.
I'm not saying all the way to Halloween, but I'm saying leading up to Halloween.
Yeah, maybe
People get in
get
that
a little bit
Halloween
of that bump.
spirit. Yeah.
We'll see. Because right now, domestically, it's made 188 million, but internationally, it's only made 76.
Yeah.
So that's where it's going to like not have the long-term legs and have that long-term push. So again, I think it's going to come in under 500 million, but it's not ridiculous to think it could get to 500 million. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Beetlejuice, a movie I don't even like, but it has had tremendous success. Great second weekend, only a 53% drop for a movie that made over $110 million in its opening weekend. That is impressive. What do you think about it? How much longer do you think it can go? How high do you think the box office returns can get? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Across the country this weekend, even though Transformers 1 officially opens this coming Thursday, the studios put out Transformers 1 in a special fan event on Saturday across many theaters across the country.
Mm-hmm.
being kind of excited about this movie, me and Ray and our buddy Ryan, we got our tickets and we went to go out and see it Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m. I think that was the only screening, right?
No, there was another one after, I believe.
What?
But yeah. There was the actual fan access one was after that.
Oh, okay.
But we wanted to see it the earliest.
Right. So they had 2 screenings of it in the theater that day. So we went to go see it. Now, my expectations for Transformers 1 have elevated because I really liked what I saw at CinemaCon. The trailers, particularly the one that came out at Comic-Con this year, was quite good, that people kind of got excited about. And then we heard the reaction from the people who saw the movie at that animation film festival, and then the first reactions came out, and they're all pretty damn good. So I went into this movie with my expectations getting kind of high. Transformers 1 exceeded all my expectations. And those people, the early reactors to it, who said that things like Transformers 1 is the best Transformers movie of all time, they are 100% right. I said in my out of the theater reaction to Transformers 1, I said this. Remember, I'm a guy who as a kid used to take my allowance money every week, walk down Lime Ridge Road to go to right by Lime Ridge Mall. Across from it was a Toys R Us. Go in and buy a new Transformer. And I would take the box home, cut out the character portrait on the front, then cut out the power bar, the power levels bar on the back, and put them up on my bedroom wall, and my wall was covered with Transformers. Again, as a younger man, I didn't have a lot of ladies coming into my bedroom. Hell, even as a guy in my 20s, I never had a lot of ladies come into my bedroom, but that's besides the point. I grew up loving and worshiping the Transformers. If Optimus Prime had come to me as a young 19-year-old man and said, John, go into the neighborhood and kill all the pets, I would say, yes, Optimus.
John Wick Wiki.
Yes, because it's
John
Optimus.
Wick Wiki.
John Wick Wiki. Yes, Optimus, I'll do it because it's Optimus Prime. So they said this thing is the greatest Transformers movie of all time, and it is. It is, and what I said coming out of the screening in my out of the theater reaction was, this is the Transformers movie I had been waiting my whole life for. It's not the best movie of the year, but this is the Transformers movie I'd been waiting my whole life for. I couldn't believe how emotionally attached I got to the movie. I couldn't believe how exciting it was in places. I couldn't believe how funny it was in places. And by the end of it, man, whoo, it's great. And by the way, a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene, and you got to stick around for both.
Good to know.
So I wanted to go over 5 reasons why I stand behind the statement that a lot of other people have made too, that Transformers 1 is the best Transformers movie ever made. The first thing is this: character development. Now don't get me wrong. We have wonderful characters in the other Transformers movies, but we know everything about their type of personality, and we don't see many dimensions to their personalities in Transformers movies, right? This one is totally noble. This one's kind of the goofball. This one's really mean. And it's just, and that's fine. It's fine for I've never complained about that. But in Transformers 1, they actually treat the characters like any other characters in any other film. You want to give them depth. You want to give them multiple layers, and you want to see an evolution in the characters. Like in any good script, you're going to have a character start at one point, but end in another point. And you want to feel that progression as they go from here to there. They did that with B. They did that with D19. They did that with Orion Pax. They did that with Alita. They did that even with Sentinel Prime. They did that with the character. Like, characters were fleshed out, real characters. Orion Pax wasn't just Optimus Prime. He was a person. He was an individual who lived on Cybertron, who had a life, and we see the evolution and the different events that happened to him throughout the course of the movie, the impact and the little changes in direction it makes to him as a person. Same with D19, who becomes Megatron, right? They actually treated the characters like fully fleshed out characters, and I love that about it. All right. The second thing about this movie that contributed to it being like the greatest Transformers movie of all time is the humor. You know, for some reason in fan circles, the term humor has almost become a dirty word. Like, they're trying to make it funny. Who the fuck doesn't like to laugh? But humor is like any other tool. It can be used well, or it can be used badly. And I think when we see people recoil to the idea of a movie using humor, it's because they have PTSD of a movie maybe using humor badly. Transformers 1 uses humor wonderfully. I laughed out loud many times throughout the film. Throughout this movie, I laughed out loud. And I'll tell you what else. Back at the CinemaCon footage they showed us all the way back in April in Las Vegas, they showed us the joke that is in one or two of the trailers of Bumblebee going, yeah, I've been working on a new nickname. I've been thinking, Pedacitron. Right? When I saw that, it's CinemaCon, I thought, oh, that's a cute little thing. But that joke, I don't know how they do it, but that joke gets funnier and funnier throughout the film. Like every time he does it, it's like, it gets funny. And the audience, Ray, I don't know if you noticed it, the audience laughed louder and louder as B's nickname joke went along.
Did.
By the way, I also got to say this. There is a special cameo. You guys know Keegan-Michael Key is the voice of Bumblebee. There is a special cameo of a classic Key and Peele joke in this movie. I won't say what it is. Just keep your ears open for it. There is a wonderful... John, can jokes be a cameo? Yes, there is a cameo of a classic Key and Peele joke in this movie that, you could tell who in the audience got it and who didn't, but I laughed my ass off when it came out. It was wonderful. The humor worked great. And they knew, the Gen 1, not Gen 1, but Phase 1, Phase 2 Marvel, where they brilliantly knew how to have the movie start to get heavy, break it up with some laughs, then get it a little heavier again, then break it up with laughs. They constantly keep the audience on their toes through their use of humor, and it was really, really well done. So the humor was a big, big plus of this. The audience laughed a lot in this movie. All right. The third thing about this, got to mention this, the vocal performers. The voice performances in this movie were great. I already talked, and this is kind of tied into point one about how they actually have character development. Part of the reason they were able to execute that well is they actually had wonderful voice performances. Listen, I didn't have the best reaction 2 years ago when they announced that Chris Hemsworth, I love Chris, don't get me wrong, but Chris Hemsworth is the voice of Optimus Prime? Really? I get it. Peter Cullen can't do the voice forever. I understand that. That's fine. But I mean, really? Chris Hemsworth. But he brought Orion Pax to life and that development that he went through. You know what I mean?
And I appreciate that he didn't try to mimic Peter Cullen at all.
Yes, which was so important.
Yeah, he made the character his own. And everyone else. Everyone else. I'm not even going to... I almost spoiled something, but everyone else in the film did very well in their voice acting.
Brian Tyree Henry, again, I love him. Wasn't sure about him as Megatron. Done. I am all on board.
He kind of won you over through from the beginning of the film, right?
Totally wins you over.
I felt the same way, at the beginning, but then it slowly started coming together. I'm like, yeah, this works.
And Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson.
She was perfect.
She was perfect right from the beginning, but I'll tell you what their ace in the hole was. Steve Buscemi as Starscream.
Right.
Inspired casting. I as soon as he started talking, and John Hamm as Sentinel Prime, Lawrence Fishburne as the voice of Alpha Trion, perfect, absolutely perfect. And so the performances totally elevated that great character development and let it happen. Also, the fourth point. It's a Transformers movie that, go figure, actually focuses on the Transformers. And a great example of this, about 15 minutes into the movie, in the early parts of the film when Optimus and were Orion Pax and D D17 or D16, the guy who becomes Megatron. It's showing their friendship, the years when they're like best of friends. They did such a good job with just that emotional hook that my wife Ann leaned over to me about 15, 16 minutes in the movie, and she goes, I'm sad. I'm like, why? She goes, I don't want them to stop being friends. And like, that is a great illustration of how well, by focusing on the Transformers, not having it on Earth, and I'm okay with them taking it to Earth at some point, but not having it on Earth, focusing strictly on the Transformers, and having that character development and having those vocal performances, it culminated in that quick emotional attachment. That my wife was actually getting sad knowing that these two guys end up not being friends anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that was key. And the fifth thing I want to say, and this is difficult. My God, this movie sticks the landing. Because a lot of these types of movies do well, and then it gets to the ending, and it's like, and okay, the movie's really good. It didn't quite stick. This movie sticks the landing.
More than once, I think, for me.
Yeah. There was
without saying anything else, more than once for me. Like they hit a home run, and then they seemed to hit another one right after, and I was like, whoa.
and let me say, there are some dark and very graphically violent things that happen in this movie. There's something that happens in the final act that you heard in the audience, people like gasping a bit. It's like, we'll leave it at that. But I mean, they just, with a terrific, you want in a movie like this, a big set piece action sequence, they delivered. You want to have the triumphant kind of surging of the blood, you got it. And it ends beautifully with setting up the Transformers we know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can I just say two things about this movie? It's one of my favorite movies of the year, obviously. Along with Twisters, it was a nice surprise. Paramount, for being in trouble, has sometimes releases these wonderful movies, and this is one of them. And another thing is ILM. They did a great job with. I was flabbergasted by. I don't even know if I use that word. By the visuals of this film. They brought Cybertron or wherever they were to life, and I thought that was great. Like the colors.
Yeah, which is funny because when we first saw footage, I didn't know that I liked the visual style.
Oh,
and
man.
then boy, did it grow on me in the movie. Yeah.
Just the big white shots of the city and everything like going like all the robots like working and everything. It's so I was stuck just marveling at what they were showing us. And plus we're used to like a much more darker Transformers from the movies, even Bumblebee. It was a little bit dark. This one is really bright and shiny and really nice to look at. I love the movie. It's one of my favorite of the year so far.
Yeah, I loved it. Now I saw some people in live chat asking like, how's it compared to the Transformers 1986 movie? Fuck the 86 movie.
Well, yeah.
I still hate that movie.
I actually want to see this again.
I don't get it because all the better Transformers came out of it.
That I have never forgiven Hasbro for that. Like I as a sports fan, one of the biggest wounds I have as a sports fan was being a fan of the Buffalo Bills when Doug Flutie led the Bills to a great winning season and took them to the playoffs. And then they got to the playoffs and the owner decided to pull Doug Flutie and start the rookie quarterback. And of course they lost. And that created a big wound for me. In my fandom as a kid, as a 13-year-old kid, watching Transformers the movie, and the first thing they do is kill every fucking Transformers I had in my collection in the first two movies. And Hasbro going, oh kid, you know, like in So I Married an Axe Murderer, Mike Myers old again. Oh, you like my chicken, do you? I felt like Hasbro's like, oh, you like those Transformers, kid? Well, we're killing them all. Now you got to go buy all new Transformers.
Time for you to be an adult, John. They said, time for you to be an adult.
It's time for the new generation.
They wanted to speed up your...
They didn't introduce new characters. They said, kids, fuck you. We're killing all of them. Wait, not all of them. Like that Optimus? Oh, we're starting with Optimus. Well, you're not You're not going to kill Irons. Oh, yeah, we're killing Ironside.
When I saw their... When I saw the blasters...
They killed all of them.
Yeah, when I saw the blasters actually start breaking the Transformers, when I started watching that movie, I knew it was different. I knew I was in for something traumatizing. I was traumatized for a little while after that movie. I'm sorry.
I was just so bad. No, granted. The 86 Transformers movie gave us a wonderful, brilliant scene, and the death of Optimus Prime is actually a great scene. When he takes out the Matrix's leadership till all are one, it's a great scene. It is. And that would have been fine if they didn't kill every single other one of my Transformers at the same time.
And if he didn't give the Matrix to a poop head.
Well, I mean, initially,
I guess Rodimus was okay.
Ultra Magnus should have been the new Prime.
Yeah, he should have.
Ultra Magnus should have been the new Prime.
John had to go back to his room and slowly peel all of the
my God, I still remember. Don't laugh. I still remember the day I had to go, well.
I can't not laugh.
I'm looking up at these 50, toy package things I could put up on my wall. It's like, they're all dead. And I had to take them all down.
Did you put all their power levels down to 0 since they all died?
Powering down.
You're a racer.
Life force, 0. Firepower, well, he's dead. 0. And it's like, and then they have the audacity of oh, sorry, did Sideswipe die? Sorry, but hey, we've got this new character for you. Cup. I don't give a shit about Cup.
I have to ask you something, John.
Yes.
Did you ever get back into Transformers after that movie?
Yes.
Ever again? Did you get...
Not until the first live action movie was coming back out.
Oh, no. I meant as in you're collecting.
Nope. Never did again.
You didn't collect
nope,
any
I
of the
didn't.
newer
I didn't
ones.
trust them anymore.
Yeah.
I didn't trust them. I had no trust in them. They betrayed me. So I said, screw you. You lost me. And I never did get back into collecting them again. I think I even threw out most of my Transformers.
See, you ruined it, bro.
Yeah.
You wanted to make more money, but it backfired on you.
And then they realized their mistake. And then they brought Optimus back and all that kind of stuff.
Too late.
And then Star Wars came along, and then they killed all the original people.
Someone saying, who was the Autobot opposite Soundwave? That was Master Blaster.
Master
Blaster, because who was asking that in the live chat? Yeah,
somebody. Sound Blaster.
No. Your thing is Soundwave.
Okay, Soundwave.
So yeah, Ron H was saying, who was the opposite to Soundwave? That was Master Blaster.
He's the one that had the like the little pounding things.
He was also like a radio cassette sort of thing. He had his own guys.
No, yeah, there's someone else that he did that earth stomping thing. There was someone else that did that. I can't remember.
Anyway, all that to say is that this is the Transformers movie I've been waiting my whole life for. This is the movie I wish I had seen in 1986. Because, man, I'm telling you what, I have no tats. But if this was the Transformers movie that came out in 1986,
it would say 1 on your back.
It would say till all are one across my back. I'd have a big Autobot symbol.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Autobot
tattooed
symbol
on my chest.
You and your Cobra Commander friend. Yeah, you could
Freaking, I'd have Prowl. I'd have Prowl on one thing, Sideswipe on another.
That's how I know I really like a movie. I actually want to watch it a second time. I mean, Twisters I wanted to watch a second time. So
Ann and I have already canceled our Thursday plans because we said, we got to go back to the theater and go see Transformers 1 again.
It's a good.
I cannot wait.
Go.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think if you saw Transformers 1? If not, where's your expectation levels? Are you planning on going to see it? Have you already bought your tickets? Maybe you've never been a Transformers guy. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to now move on to the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second here and thank another sponsor of the John Campea Show today, our friends over at Hungryroot. We want to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Hungryroot. Guys, you know me, I like things that make my life easier, especially things that make it easier for me to eat healthy and eat well, and certainly more effectively than trying to order from food delivery services. Hungryroot is the easiest way to eat healthy. They send you fresh, high-quality groceries, simple, delicious recipes, and essential supplements. It's like having someone else do all the planning and shopping so you don't even have to think about it. Hungryroot gets to know your personal health goals, dietary restrictions, favorite foods, how much time you want to spend cooking, and more. Then they build you a personalized cart with all your grocery needs for the week, including easy 4-ingredient recipes to put those groceries to use. Each order is fully customizable so you can take their suggestions or choose anything you want. They've got fresh produce, high quality meat and seafood, healthy snacks, smoothies, sweets, ready to eat meals, kids snacks and meals, vitamins and supplements, and much more. Everything from Hungryroot follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole, trusted ingredients. Right now, Hungryroot is offering the John Campea Show listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/Campea to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/Campea. Don't forget to use our link so that they know we sent you. And thank you to our friends at Hungryroot for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to the important stuff. Your comments and questions. Jonathan, what do we got up first?
Anonymous says, I'm super excited to see the Mr. McMahon documentary. His rise, heel run, fall are fascinating to me. Side note, WWE has been the best it's been since the Ruthless Aggression days, ever since he got the boot. Triple H is killing it, OTC.
I mean, listen, make no mistake about it. Whatever vile evil Vince McMahon did, turned into, whatever, he built the wrestling industry. Wrestling is popular today because of Vince McMahon. And him becoming a slimy jackass doesn't change that fact. He's still the guy. He made it what it was. He was the architect of the Attitude Era, which is arguably maybe the most popular era ever. But yeah, I've heard, and I don't watch wrestling nearly as much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, other than Nigel is maybe doing an AEW main event, but I mean, from what a lot of people tell me is that ever since they gave the boot to Vince McMahon, that the WWE's gotten a lot better too ever since then. But again, that doesn't take away like what he has done for it. And I think it could be a pretty fascinating documentary. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says, do you think the Russo brothers will pass Steven Spielberg as highest grossing directors with their next two films? Spielberg is number one with 10.7 billion. The Russos are at 6.8. They will need 3.9 billion with Doomsday and Secret Wars to pass him.
I don't see why not. I mean, obviously they're nowhere near as good as Steven Spielberg. If Steven Spielberg, look, if Steven Spielberg went to Kevin Feige and said, yeah, I'll be down for directing one of your Marvel movies. If you don't think that Kevin Feige would trip over himself to give him whatever movie he wanted, of course he would. But, you know, that's not what Spielberg does. But yeah, I can't imagine that with the next two Avengers films that they don't. I mean, unless Steven Spielberg puts out some massive billion-dollar film. But Steven Spielberg now today just seems to be really focused on telling, like, not as wide appeal, but super high quality movies that he's passionate about. Because let's face it, Steven Spielberg is if you break it into game time in 4 quarters, Steven Spielberg's in the 4th quarter of his career. So he's really focusing on his own passion projects right now. But yeah, I think they probably will. It would make sense. All right, what's next?
We got Thea, who says, hello, John and crew. Just wanted to thank you, John, for recommending Arcane. I know nothing about League of Legends, but damn, did I love that show. It's awesome, and I can't wait for season 2. Wish you all well, and bring on the filthy.
Thank you so much. And yeah, listen, I was shocked. That, like, when I finished that first season, I was like, this is the best animated series I've ever seen. And I still believe that to this day. I think it's my favorite animated series ever. I'm not saying it's my favorite would be my favorite out of any animated movie, but I think it is my favorite. I could not believe how good it was. And I didn't know squat about League of Legends either. Apparently, from people who play League of Legends, the show is nothing like League of Legends. It's totally its own thing, just with characters you would recognize. But yeah, I didn't know anything about it either, and I absolutely love it. Cannot wait for season 2. All right, what's next?
Gavin says, hey, gang, Screen Time reports via Daniel RPK that Marvel Studios' reboot X-Men film will not include Wolverine, citing that Hugh will continue the role after Secret Wars. Let's assume this is true. Who would the focus be on in the new X-Men? Jean Grey, X-23?
Here's the thing. Again, I'm not bad talking Daniel RPK. He's just been wrong too many times for me to take it seriously. he's gotten some very key things right. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying other people shouldn't pay attention to him. I'm not saying that, sometimes what he says isn't worth talking about, but I don't believe that. I don't believe that they do X-Men without Wolverine. So yeah, no, I just don't buy that. Now, that doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan sitting here speculating. Nobody from the industry has told me anything about it, but for right now, I just don't believe that's right at all. All right, what's next?
RH says, hi, John. Did you see that horrible tweet Elon wrote to Taylor Swift? He offered...
Don't care. Don't care. Let's
I'm
move
not
on.
really sure why you guys bother putting these things in here.
Yeah, I'm not... and no offense to you, but that's not what we're here to talk about.
Dr. Stinky says, hey, I saw... Oh, Transformers 1. I thought I said TIFF. And wow, what a perfect Transformers film. It's touching, emotional. I lost my dad, who was a mega fan. Got a little emotional at the end. But not only Transformers 1, The Wild Robot, Moana 2, and Sonic 3. What a year for animation. Spider-Verse was one of them.
I'll tell you what, it has already been a hell of a year for animation. The #1 box office film of the year is an animated film, and will be by the end of the year too. The only thing that's going to pass, the only stuff that has a chance to pass Inside Out 2, is another animated film. It's probably Moana 2. It has been a great year for animation in here, and I cannot wait for The Wild Robot. I absolutely cannot wait for The Wild Robot. All right, what's next?
We got Cody Hunt Films, who says, saw Speak No Evil this weekend. I had a great time, very uncomfortable to the point there was tons of nervous laughter in my theater. Thought James McAvoy was incredible. I felt he kind of channeled Nicholson. That's a good in The Shining. Truly great actor of our time.
I think we talked about it last week, that James McAvoy is maybe the most low-key one of the greatest actors of our generation. Like, when you bring up greatest actors of our generation, there's some big names that obviously float to the top that we're going to talk about. But I think James McAvoy has very, very quietly become one of those guys. I'm not saying he's in the best movies. I'm not saying he's been given the best roles. But James McAvoy, the key to if you want to see a great actor, a great performer, don't look at how good or bad the movie is. Ask yourself, did that actor take that character and elevate it? And every time James McAvoy is in a movie and has a character, he elevates it to being something that's oftentimes better than what that movie deserves, whatever movie it is you're talking about. That's just how good he is. And I really do honestly believe, because he's still really young, because what is he, like 42, 43? Can you look up the age of James McAvoy? Right. But I really do honestly believe he will have an Oscar on his mantle before his career is done. I 100% believe that, because he is
45.
He's 45. He just turns in powerhouse performance after powerhouse performance after powerhouse performance. He's amazing, and he'll have an Oscar someday. All right, what's next?
We got Saints and Sinners. Says King of the Hill reference from a rerun I literally saw last month. Hank Hill, how do you think the Cowboys look against the Saints? Rich Cajun aristocrat replies, my boy, I'm more familiar with Saints and Sinners, and believe me, they always look good. Do you guys ever watch King of the Hill? I never really got into it.
I never got into it. I remember, like, back in the day, I tried. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I'm just saying it wasn't for me, so I tried watching it a bit. But how about them Cowboys?
Oh boy.
Woo! I'll tell you what, I had my NFL like zone on where I had like the 4 games on at the same time. And even though I'm not really invested in the Saints, and there were some other games with teams that I am invested in, I kept having the audio on the Cowboys Saints game, because every time I see Carr going down the field and scoring on the Cowboys, I'm like, how about them Cowboys getting their asses beat? Gave me such joy. And by the way, you know how I was talking? I really do think I'm going to start another YouTube channel talking sports. I think I have too many things I want to talk about with sports. I might open another YouTube channel, second YouTube channel, just put up random thoughts on sports. Anyway, if any of you guys have an idea about what I should call that YouTube channel, let me know. But I mean, I was talking the other day about how do you think the Browns feel that they let Baker Mayfield go? And 2 weeks in, he's in the running for MVP of the league. And you got Deshaun Watson sticking up the joint over there. But how do you also think the Raiders are feeling right now? They had Carr, who is not an A+ quarterback, but he's a very good quarterback. And they had him, and they let him go. And now he's over in the Saints. Oh, what have the Saints done? Oh, I don't know. Put up 87 points in the first 2 games. Not much. And beat the asses of the Dallas Cowboys. How do you think the Raiders are feeling right now? Not so good. Not so good. All right, anyway, what's next?
Raise McRib says, John, I was on Disney Plus. That got funny after I remembered.
Raise McRib.
John, I was on
double
Disney
meaning
Plus, and under live action movies, it had The Lion King in that segment. It made me chuckle. Oh,
I know.
So then they know.
One of the stupid, like the joking aside, it is one of the most indescribable things of idiocracy that I've ever seen. Like, well, we're going to call it live action. Like, fuck you, Disney. It's not live action. It is an animated film in every sense of the word. Was the movie made entirely in a computer? Yes, that's an animated film.
But by live humans.
But animated by live humans. They're
Yes.
like I just said, I had this debate with somebody who said, no, The Lion King is a live action. Really? Was there ever a set? Was there ever a camera crew? Was there ever a location? Were there ever actors? No. It's an entire movie made entirely in a computer, just like Toy Story. It is an animated film. And I don't care how often. I feel like the Mean Girls meme. Stop trying to make it a thing. It's not a thing. Lion King is not a live action film. Stop that fucking silliness. It just makes us as a species look stupid. It's an animated film. You can call it whatever you want as much as you want, but it doesn't change the fact that it is an animated film. Anyway, all right, what's next?
Colonel O'Neill says, I feel like people have forgotten that it's The Bear season 2 nominated at the Emmys.
Yep.
Not season 3.
Correct.
Yeah. It's tough for other comedies to compete with Forks and Fishes.
That episode, was crazy. And Jamie Lee Curtis won the Emmy, I believe, for best guest appearance.
Yeah.
And totally deserved it. Yeah, it is weird the way the timing of the Emmys works. It is because, I was having a conversation with my friend earlier today who reminded me, he's like, and don't forget, it was being nominated for season 2, not season 3, because season 3 came after the eligibility date. So it's really weird the way it all works. But again, it is still a very ridiculous thing. And it kind of undermines the credibility of the Emmys a little bit to have Curb Your Enthusiasm and what's the show about the teachers?
Abbott
Elementary.
Abbott, yeah.
To have Curb Your Enthusiasm and Abbott Elementary in the same comedy category as The Bear. There is no rational human being that looks at The Bear and says, oh yeah, these are the samesies. The Bear is not a comedy. It's a great show. It's fabulous. I love it. But it's not a comedy.
Yeah. And then
Put
you're putting
comedies in the comedy category.
And then you're putting that performance again, especially even more so with the individual performances, lead actor, lead actress, whatever. You're putting their performance up against actual
comedic performances.
And it's
Actual
just like,
comedic performances. Yeah, I really hope they change that for next time. But yeah, it is just one of the most ridiculous things in the world to have The Bear, because if The Bear is a comedy, then so is Shogun.
yeah.
Because Shogun has some laughs in it. It does. There's some good laughs in Shogun. It ain't a comedy. And The Bear is not in any stretch of the imagination a comedy. And I have no idea why they have it in there. Great show. I love it, but it's not a comedy. All right, what's next?
Captain Hawkeye says, agree or disagree, Solo would have worked better as a Disney Plus series, and Obi-Wan would have worked better as a feature. I like Solo, though.
I like Solo too, but it's a movie that never should have been made.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Solo may have worked better as a series if it were to have come out now. I always lamented, this is back when I was in the AMC days and doing movie talk. I said, look, I just don't get how you think the audience is going to respond favorably to having a Harrison Ford replacement when we literally just had Harrison Ford on screen as Han Solo. That's why I think when you eventually do a new Indiana Jones, you have to have years in between our last appearance of Harrison Ford as the character and then when we introduce a new guy. So I think if you had done Obi-Wan, or not Obi-Wan, if you had done Solo as a series today, it would have done better. Because you'd have at least a number of years separating the two. As far as Obi-Wan goes, Obi-Wan was just bad. I mean, it would have been better as a movie. Absolutely, it would have been better as a movie. As somebody, like a fan, cut one together. It looked amazing. Again, it still didn't make it amazing, but it was better. Obi-Wan definitely would have worked better as a movie.
Yeah.
But frankly, other than Mandalorian and Andor, everything Star Wars has put on Disney Plus probably would have been not necessarily good, but better as a movie. Ahsoka sucked as a show. Maybe would have worked a little bit better as a movie. Acolyte sucked as a show. Maybe would have worked a little bit better as a movie. Obi-Wan maybe would have worked a little bit better as a movie. Book of Boba Fett sucked. Maybe would have been a little bit better as a movie. But that's been one of the big problems with Lucasfilm putting stuff on Disney Plus, is that it's clear they have no idea how to make a show. Now, how they made Andor, I have no idea. Probably because they had Tony Gilroy.
Yeah, that was Gilroy saying
Having Tony Gilroy is a pretty good advantage to have. But yeah, it's often would be true. All right, what's next?
Future Man says, I love it when I'm watching a movie or show where the acting is so good that you don't even realize who the actor is. Like with Colin Farrell as the Penguin, I never realized it was Colin because he was indistinguishable from the character he's playing.
Yeah, but with the Colin Farrell thing, and by the way, I'm not saying I disagree with you, but with the Colin Farrell thing, you have the advantage of, because they make him up in prosthetic makeup, that you would never know it was him. Right? Like I love it, like when I'm watching a movie, say like Django Unchained. Yes, when he first pops up on screen, you're like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio's here. But he plays the character so well that all you see after about 10 minutes is Monsieur Candide instead of Leonardo DiCaprio. Right? Like there's something magical about that. In There Will Be Blood, like you don't, after about 2 seconds, you don't see Daniel Day-Lewis anymore. And that's like that's the sign. Now, again, Colin Farrell is great as the Penguin, but again, it kind of helps that nobody would know that was Colin Farrell. They didn't have Colin Farrell's name on the poster. You would never know that was Colin Farrell. But I cannot wait for the Penguin, man. I'm so excited for this show. All right, what's next?
Anonymous says that, okay, you said Lucasfilm wouldn't AI James Earl Jones' voice for future Star Wars projects and would replace him with a different actor and audiences would adjust. How do you feel now that they're going to continue using his voice for Vader, such as in Obi-Wan?
I still think there are going to be movies that they have a new voice. I think for video games, animation, but let's be honest here too. They really shouldn't have Darth Vader in the movies anymore.
It's kind of done.
They need to move on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. They need to move. Darth Vader is first of all, is the greatest villain in movie history and one of the greatest characters in movie history. But it is time to move on. They just keep going back to him, and that's fine. And that's fine in video games, and that's fine in animation and stuff like that. You can continue to do that, and that's a perfect place to use that. But much like Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie, and it's time to move on from that era, and we quite frankly should not have Darth Vader in movies anymore. It's time to move on. Video games, yes. Animation, yes. Perfect places to use James Earl Jones' digitized voice, but I don't think they should be using Vader anymore. All right, what's next?
Dumb of All Fears, two-parter says, saw Speak No Evil over the weekend. It's well made, but and will have its fans. So those of you who did see it and liked it, I'm glad you enjoyed it. But one of my biggest gripes in any story is when characters are making dumb, irrational decisions. And even with the context of this movie, some of the choices characters make here are unbelievably stupid. It's not bad like Madam Web, but it left me the angriest in years. Can you suggest a comedy to lift my mood? The Bear.
You need a laugh a minute show? Go watch The Bear. Um, by the way, just to that point though, I don't mind when I see characters make really stupid decisions when it feels real. Because like I can't remember which movie it was, but recently we were talking about a movie where it's like somebody said, when this character did this, it totally took me out because that was so stupid. And I'm like, it was stupid, but I've known people that have made that exact same stupid decision.
Yeah.
So when it feels, because we as people can be very stupid. Even the smartest of us can be really stupid sometimes. So sometimes it feels real, but then sometimes it's just irrationally dumb.
Yeah.
Like Beetlejuice.
Now.
Like, I'm sorry.
Come
I'm
on.
sorry. No human being, let alone a main character of a film like Winona Ryder, no human being would be so dense and so dull and so stupid and so dumb as she is in that movie. I'm sorry. Anyway, that aside. What's a good... Listen, I know I'm still on this train. Hop online, find Joyride, and watch it. If you need a palate cleanser and you need to just laugh your ass off, go watch Joyride. It will put you in a much, much, much better mood. All right, what's next?
Tron says, after Borderlands, The Crow, and now Killer's Game with 2.6 million opening, it's time to ask what the hell is going on at Lionsgate. How many more flops in a row can they take? Who's greenlighting these mid movies? Is the studio trying to get sold?
Look, you can understand why they greenlit Borderlands, right? Absolutely can understand. Of course they would greenlight Borderlands. And look, I'm sure nobody at Lionsgate wanted it to turn out the way it turned out. And listen, let's not all play Monday morning quarterback here. When they first announced it, hey, Dave Bautista leading an action kind of Schwarzenegger style comedy with Palm Clementif in it as well. And what's the girl from Rebel Moon?
Sophia Botella.
Botella, that's it. I keep on wanting to, my mind automatically wants to say Sofia Vergara when I say but yes.
Oh man, that would have made that movie so much better.
It would have been a different movie.
Oh my god, my weed.
We have to protect the planet.
Oh my gosh.
She's so great. I love her. But I mean, like you introduce that. Who's greenlight? Listen, everybody thought that sounded like a good idea, right? Like a lot of people thought that sounded like a fun idea, and it definitely was. But oftentimes, good ideas don't translate into success. Like this is a rule of life, guys. Like this is one of the things I try to tell people too, is that look, at the end of the day, you have to accept in life that all you can do, there's no guaranteed success in life in anything. The only thing you can do is do the right things that put you in the best position to succeed. But understand that even if you do the best things to put you in the position to succeed, you are not A, owed anything, and B, you're not guaranteed success. But that doesn't mean you don't still do the right things and you don't still do the smart things to put you in a position to succeed, because putting yourself in the position to succeed gives you your best chances of success. It is extremely true with movie studios as well. All you can do as a studio is find something that you think has potential, try to put it together in such a way that works, and then you kind of put it into the hands of the directors and filmmakers and hope it turns out into something that the audience responds to. The greatest analogy I have for this in life is this. It's a poker analogy. Follow me here. If you're dealt pocket aces and somebody goes all in, the right decision is to call. You have the best starting hand in poker, but guess what? You are not guaranteed to win. Even though you did the right thing by calling all in with aces, that is 100% every single time the right decision. And most of the time you'll win, but not all the time. There's a chance you're going to lose. And that is true in life. You make the best decisions you can. You try to put yourself in a position to succeed. But you also have to accept that even if you do that, there are times you are going to fail. And with something like Lionsgate, I get why they greenlit a Borderlands. I do. I get why they greenlit a Killer's Game. I do. But they're having a rough time right now, man. And fortunately, they're a smaller studio. They don't have the overhead that a Paramount or a Sony or a Warner Brothers does or anything like that. But yeah, their Lionsgate has got to be hurting right now. Absolutely they are. All right. What's next?
Mike P says, hi, John and crew. Have you seen the James McAvoy movie, My Son? I just read about it, and it seems interesting. McAvoy's lead role was completely improvised, and he's only had a background page about his character. Could you see other movies using this method?
I've never heard of the movie.
Yeah.
Either.
Never heard of the movie, so I obviously can't give any
I'm
commentary.
sure other films could use the method, for sure.
But I mean, I can't say because I didn't see the movie to understand the method. So
Yeah.
I can't give any commentary on that. But again, just to be honest, I've never even heard of the film. So I'm guessing it was a straight to home video kind of movie because I don't think it was in theater. I mean, maybe it was and it just slid under the radar, but I've never heard of it, unfortunately. All right, what's next?
Ryan O'Connor says, hey, crew, current thoughts on the debate of favorite versus best. I didn't know there was a debate.
There is, and I've had my thoughts on favorite versus best have evolved over the years because for a long time I always believed there was a definite distinction between favorite and best.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is anymore. I think the last couple of years, and there's no definitive right or wrong answer to this, just so you know. If yours is the same as mine, that doesn't mean you're right. And if yours is different than mine, that doesn't mean you're wrong. I'm saying that since all entertainment, since all art is purely subjective, and the goal of art is to create an experience within its beholder. Because what do I always say about movies? They're experiential events. If you have a particular comedy movie that makes you laugh the hardest and the best and gave you your favorite experience with a comedy movie, then for you, that is the best comedy movie. It almost feels like to me, I've come to a point where now I think that making a distinction between favorite and best is just trying to save face. Well, I know I'm not supposed to say this is the best one, so I'll say this one's my favorite, but oh yeah, this other one's the best. I feel now that's a cop-out. That's an excuse. When we don't, as film fans, we don't need to make excuses. You know what? This 40-year-old virgin to me gave me my best personal experience for me in a comedy movie. It made me laugh the hardest. It made me feel the most. That's the one that had for me. That's my favorite. So you know what? To me, that's the best. That's the best because that's the one that gave me that experience. So I have admittedly, I have evolved over the years because I used to think very big distinction between favorite and best. But right now I'm kind of in a place that if something's your favorite, then just have the testicular fortitude to stand up and say, to me, that one is the best because it gave you that experience that the other ones did not. But hey, listen, if you ask me again in 2 or 3 years, I might swing back the other way. But right now, that's kind of my feelings on it.
I'd say that's my favorite and best description of that. Debate.
All right, what's next?
Tender Whispers says, I'm so happy for Lisa Cologne Zayas winning her Emmy. I don't much care for awards, but her performance on The Bear, particularly her monologue about maintaining hope while jobless, was so moving and perfectly acted. She's incredible.
And look, now we're at 5 actors from The Bear who have won Emmys for that show.
And it was hilarious because it was for comedy, so don't forget that.
And it was for, that the particular speech was so funny. That funny speech because it's in a comedy, right? I was very, very happy for her as well. Listen, I loved all the winners. I love that Hiroyuki won. I love that Anna won. I love that. I mean, again, Jeremy Allen White is not in a comedy, but man, he's so good in The Bear. I'm glad he won and on and on and on. It was a lot of good winners, but yeah, it was really nice seeing her win that. All right, what's next?
Okay, Disney Gifts by Bryce says, hey, y'all. I was wondering where you would put Michael Giacchino on the Mount Rushmore of composers.
He's not on the Mount Rushmore.
Because you'd have before.
Yeah, he's not on there.
Jurassic Park is my favorite theme, but I find myself humming Incredibles, Ratatouille, Coco, Inside Out 9 times out of 10. Personally, I think he's awesome.
I think he's awesome too. He's fantastic. But let's save the Mount Rushmore of composers maybe for another 15 years because he's not on the list. He's not even knocking on the door yet. You know, I just saw him live at the MCU Infinity Saga in concert event because Michael Giacchino comes out on stage during that, which was really, really great. And I think he's great and I love him. By the way, I'm very curious to see him direct more because don't forget, he actually directed that Marvel special presentation on Disney Plus. What was the name of it again?
Special Werewolf by Midnight.
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf.
Yeah, Werewolf by Night.
Sorry.
He actually directed that. Not just the music, he directed that. And it was really good. So I'm very curious to see him do more directing too. But as of right now, no, he's not on the Mount Rushmore of that. Not at all. All right. What's next?
I guess he just followed up. To be clear, I know Jurassic Park is John Williams, and I doubt anything will ever overtake that theme for me. It's magical.
That's just that's just the thing about, there is such a gap in the GOAT conversation of composers, for movie composers, between John Williams and everybody else. It's crazy. Like, you think about all the most memorable tunes and all the most memorable music from movies. They're all John Williams. Because if I go into any room and go, bum, 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 everybody knows that's Superman. Everybody does. You go into any room and go, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba, ba, everybody knows that's Indiana Jones. Or any Star Wars music. Or go into any room and go, bum, bum, ba, bum, 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 ba. Everybody knows that's Harry Potter. Ba, 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 ba. Everybody knows that's Jurassic Park. I mean, and on and on and on. All of the most memorable things are John Williams. It's so crazy, the type of music that he's done. And then you got like Hans Zimmer, you got Alfred Newman, you got like, whether it's other guys like Shore, and on and on and on. There's so many great ones in history. All right, what's next?
Future Man says Hiro Sonata 100% deserved the win, or to win the the Emmy for Shogun. I have loved him since first seeing him in one of my favorite movies of all time, Sunshine. He killed it in that movie and absolutely killed it in Shogun. He has such a commanding presence on screen.
And you know, you put him in any kind of movie. You can put him in a Sunshine. You can put him in a Wolverine movie. You can put him in a freaking Mortal Kombat movie. You can put him in heavy drama. He's so good. There's very, very few actors in the world today that have that commanding presence. Oh, like when he talks, man, you sit up and pay attention. I love him. He's so good. All right, what's next?
Obert Juan Canobert says, hey, John, Matt Reeves has said Penguin picks up 1 week after Batman ends.
That makes sense.
Batman 2 picks up 1 week after Penguin. Do you think the entire trilogy will take place over a few short months, or would you rather see a larger time jump between movies?
Well, remember, just because he says something starts at a point, look, there are many, many movies that take place over years. Just because a movie starts at one point, that doesn't mean the movie all takes place within 5 days. Like, so we could have the Penguin start a few weeks after the events of the Batman. But the story of the Penguin may take place over the course of, 2 or 3 years. Right? Like, from episode 1 of the Penguin happens on this date, and episode 8 of the Penguin happens on a date that is theoretically 3 years later. And then sure, the Batman picks up 1 week after that, or the Batman 2 picks up 1 week after that. But the Batman 2 could again take place over the course of months or whatever. We just don't know. So we'll see what Matt Reeves has in mind for that. All right, what's next?
Bry Guy says, I know, John, it will never happen, but just for the fun of it, hear me out. A studio crossover between the Transformers and Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, directed by Travis Knight, written by Chris Bolter, Transformers Assembled.
No, that sounds like just a unmitigated mess to me. Those are two things that don't cross over well. Those are two things that have just two different tones. And again, it's just, to me, it sounds like it's just a big unmitigated mess. Let the Transformers be the Transformers.
Yeah, with G.I. Joe.
With G.I. Joe. They were made to be together, right?
Yeah.
And they have an idea for that movie. They have an idea.
Yeah, it's coming along.
All right, what's next?
Ronetta says, hey guys, I thought the Emmys were good. The hosts were funny. Billy Crystal is and always will be funny. Seeing Candice Bergen was great. John Leguizamo was the MVP of the night for speeches. Diligence, exceptional imagination. That was a good take.
One of the moments I truly loved, because I think one of the greatest shows of all, I've just recently put it in my top 3, and a show I kind of do a loose rewatch of almost every year is The West Wing. And that moment in the Emmys when they got a bunch of the cast of The West Wing together to, I think they presented Best Drama Series. That was really, really cool. Also having the Schitt's Creek reunion on stage. The guy from Baby Reindeer in his speech when it won Best Anthology Series, when he said, listen, I think this proves like you don't need a big major star. You don't need it to be a sequel. You don't need it to be a high budget original. Just good stories can win the day. And that was a really good speech. There was a lot of good moments with the Emmys this year. All right, what's next?
Darth AI says, along with a live-action Gundam, I have always desperately wanted to see the Cybertron War, and specifically maybe he's Optimus and Megatron, as friends depicted on screen. We have heard them say old friend many times, but have never seen it on screen before.
Well, yeah, this is the movie that does it. And does it well. And listen, one of my favorite themes in any movie, live action, animated, drama, sci-fi, anything. One of my favorite themes is what pain and anger can do to somebody. Even the best of people. You can take the best of people, apply enough pain and apply enough anger, and even the best of people can be, dare I say, transformed or evolve into something even better or very dark. And that theme is applied brilliantly in Transformers 1. The idea of, okay, a significant amount of pain and anger are being applied to these two characters now, and watch how they affect each of them differently. It's really well done, and I very, very much enjoyed that. All right, what's next?
Dildar says, IGN has proven to be unreliable for reviews, as they think Transformers and Penguins are terrible, rating them 5 out of 10, and then change Penguins' score to 10 after receiving backlash. You guys have been more reliable for reviews.
I reject that. Listen, any review and any reviewers, their job is just to give you their opinion. Nobody's opinion is unreliable. No one's opinion is reliable. It's just somebody's opinion. Now, granted, it's an opinion by somebody who probably watches more stuff than you or whatever. And so there's a wider context for them to form their opinions, but opinions are always going to be different. You can say my reviews are more reliable. The only thing reliable about my reviews is that you can always rely that I'm going to give you my honest opinion, whether it's the popular opinion or the unpopular opinion. I don't like Beetlejuice. I don't give two shits if people don't like me because I didn't like it. My job is to give you my honest opinion. But that doesn't mean it's always going to line up with yours. That's why one of my all-time favorite film critic is Roger Ebert. And I doubt I agreed with him more than 50% of the time. But what I loved about him as a film critic, and when I look for film critics that I enjoy watching, whether it's an older school Roger Ebert or a modern day Jeremy Jahns or something like that, is that whether I end up agreeing or disagreeing with their opinion, are they gifted in expressing their opinion and laying out why they felt the way they did? To me, the idea of a good film critic, or even a good pundit, is not did they say stuff I agree with, but did they say what they think in such a way that helps me bring more into focus why I also agree with them or why I disagree with them? Roger Ebert was great at that. He would lay out his thoughts about a movie in such a way that even when I disagreed with him, it helped me even focus better on about why I had a different opinion than he did. And that's why he was my favorite, not because I agreed. And if you think IGN is good or bad just based on how often their critics' opinions line up with your opinions, then I'd say you're looking for the wrong thing. Now, I'm not saying IGN is great at reviews. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying basing whether you think a reviewer is good or not is entirely dependent on whether their opinions line up with yours. is not a good basis for judging how good or bad a critic is, because you're always going to have different opinions, and that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
Well, thank you for liking my reviews. Thank you.
All right, what's next?
All right, final tip here. Bry Guy says John Campea's second YouTube channel, sports themed. Call it either Master Blaster or Man's Game. Thoughts? What about the John Sportsia Show?
Did you just say the John
Sportsia.
Sportsia?
It has a
show?
ring to it.
N-
The
Not
John
a good ring.
Sportsia.
More like one of those annoying rings in the back and saying, where is that coming from?
I thought it was very original. I didn't lean it on anything coming before it. So
Anyway, guys, and that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. I want to thank the guys in the room with me, Ray Ora,
I'm Ray Sportsia, signing out.
Jonathan
It's got a
Boyko.
ring. See you guys tomorrow.
And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.